Hey guys, Alex Parati here again, and I'm going to be reviewing six more books. This time I've chosen biographies, autobiographies, and a cookbook about six prolific rappers, American hip hop artists, poets in their own right, entertainers, and businessmen. The books I will be highlighting are The Marathon Don't Stop, The Life and Times of Nipsey Hussle, written by Rob Kenner. Um, Gucci Mane, The Autobiography of Gucci Mane by Gucci Mane and Neil Martinez-Belkin. Jay-Z, Made in America by Michael Eric Dyson. Changes, An Oral History of Tupac Shakur by Sheldon Pearce. Fuck That's Delicious by Action Bronson. And lastly, Earl, the autobiography of DMX as told to Smokey D. Fontaine. All right, let's start with The Marathon Don't Stop, The Life and Times of Nipsey Hussle. Um, you know, there's a foreword by Questlove of The Roots, which was a beautiful, uplifting sort of eulogy in a way because this book came out after he died. And one could say that Nipsey Hussle or Ermias Joseph Ash Gadam is one of the most important but misunderstood cultural figures of our time. His fans are super devoted to him. Having grown up in Compton, in the Slauson area to be exact, Nipsey grew up in the post Rodney King, the dawn of Death Row Records, in the heart of the Crips territory in South Central LA. And that upbringing very much informed his rap style and his who he was as a person. And this book really goes into Nipsey's unique philosophy of economic empowerment. Um, Nipsey felt that it was very important to stay in the community and not leave like many people do when they gain a lot of financial security. They'll often leave their community, but Nipsey felt it was very important to uh, keep the money in the community. He had it's sort of like a slogan in which he always said, all money in and no money out. He was dedicated to keeping it circulating in Compton. And if you want to learn more about his upbringing, more about the neighborhood that he was raised in, his Eritrean background. This is an excellent book for you. It does go into a lot of detail about Los Angeles. So if you're a local or you're a super duper hardcore Nipsey Hussle fan, you might find that you know a lot of the information already in the book. But if you're like me and you're newer to Nipsey, this was a great read to get a better understanding of who he was and his impact on the community. And the author, Rob Kenner, was a founding editor of Vibe magazine, so it's really well researched. And I also was happy to learn that part of the proceeds of the book go to the Nipsey Hussle family estate. So that feels really good. All right. So the autobiography of Gucci Mane was a delightful read. I am a Gucci Mane fan. I love his music. And I also have been fascinated by his profound metamorphosis and change once he was locked up in 2016 and sort of narrowly, his career was really flourishing, but he was making a lot of bad choices for himself. He was quite heavily addicted to lean, which is it's a mixture of cough syrup, promethazine, codeine, and that comes out in some of the music that you can hear him. He recorded a song called Pills that his producer, Zavon, I think it was Zavon, uh, Zaytoven is his name, released he it's almost incriminating because he's clearly not sober in the song. Anyhow, when Gucci Mane was locked up, he really went through a profound sort of transformation. He began voraciously reading books by Malcolm Gladwell and also Deepak Chopra, and a bunch of different self help books around health and nutrition. And he stayed really busy writing while he was in prison. And he also released a ton of pre recorded music while he was there, because for Gucci Mane, it's super important for him to stay relevant and stay current, right? And um, I'm just going to show you the photo on the back. You can really see what a transformation he's been through in terms of his weight loss journey and his health journey, and really redefining what matters to him. I really enjoyed the photos in the book of when he was growing up, and I mean, these are just fabulous pictures, but of really learning like who he was, who he is, and how he got to where he is now. He was born in Alabama to a military dad and a school teacher mom. His dad was the original Gucci Mane. He was kind of a hustler, and really showed Gucci his ways. And Gucci, before he was a rapper, he was also a drug dealer, and he was a rapper second. But he is quite musically talented. And one of the things that Gucci is also really good at is discovering new talent. We can thank him for Migos and Young Thug and Waka Flocka Flame. Of course, a lot of his music he's collaborated with Mike Will Made It and Zaytoven. So best of luck to Gucci Mane. He seems to be thriving, and I really enjoyed that story. I think you will too if you're a fan of trap music, which he's definitely the king of. Third book is Jay-Z, Made in America by Michael Eric Dyson. And this book was coincided with his 50th birthday. It's written by the sociologist and author Michael Eric Dyson of Georgetown University, who has been teaching a course on hip hop and Jay-Z for over 10 years. So he's the perfect person to write this story. The foreword is written by Jay-Z's longtime friend and collaborator, Pharrell. And it sort of sets the tone for the book, which is it's really an analysis of Jay-Z's lyrics and his contribution to American culture, because this America is just as much Jay-Z's as it is Nancy Pelosi's or Trump's. We are living in America, and Jay-Z has had a huge impact on our culture. And one thing that the book illustrates is the writing of raps for Jay-Z. He never writes anything down. It's all happening within his mind and in his memory. So when he's laying when he's rapping over a beat, he is often mumbling as he starts to form the lyrics and put them to the music. He just as enslaved Blacks have passed their history and stories down to the next generation through oral storytelling, Jay-Z is an expert at this, because remember that enslaved people could not learn to read and write. And so everything that they passed down was through memory. And that's the same way that Jay-Z works to this day. We can't deny his impact on our culture. And I really also enjoyed the acknowledgments, which are wrapped in the back of the book. It's just a celebration of his life and the complexity of his rhymes and his writing. So if you're a Jay-Z fan, I definitely recommend Made in America. It's a fabulous book, which also highlights Jay-Z's social justice work and his efforts for equality. All right. Changes by Sheldon Pearce. Sheldon Pearce is a writer for The New Yorker. This is also a really beautifully written book. It's the history of Tupac Shakur as told to Sheldon Pearce through interviews with people that were really close to Tupac. Um, the the title changes is also the title of one of his songs that came out like 20 years ago, that has recently topped the charts again during Black Lives Matter protests and protests against police brutality, that happened over the death of George Floyd. So it's a great title, and it just goes to show that Tupac, his influence on our culture, is still relevant today, right? To have a song that 20 years after you released it is a hit again during this really pivotal time in our history. So I really enjoyed the writing of the book, and also the people that Sheldon Pearce chose to interview. He interviews a um, a man who was in A Raisin in the Sun with Tupac when in Harlem, a production of A Raisin in the Sun when they were 12 years old, which I think is just awesome. He also interviews one of the jurors on Tupac's sexual assault case that happened in 1994. He also interviews the surgeon that performed reconstructive surgery on him when he was shot in New York City, in the recording studio, in the same building that Biggie and Puffy were in. So I just really appreciated the dedication to the research and hearing these voices from Tupac's past, because him not being here, who it's really important to try to like continue to analyze his life and get to know him better. He's made such a huge impact on American culture. Okay, so fuck, that's delicious. This is the cookbook in the series of books. It's a beautiful cover with this bright orange. You see Action Bronson stuffing his face, the piece of pizza. Um, so this book is sort of like a companion to his television show that ran on Vice called Fuck That's Delicious. And the contents, there's a lot of great illustrations, fabulous food photography. There's a foreword by Mario Batali. Um, and also a lot of, if you know Action Bronson, he's from New York, and he spends a lot of time eating different ethnic foods in the city, and he focuses a lot on comfort foods. He starts the book off with his dedication to a Crispix cereal, which he recommends eating while really, really stoned. Um, he's a funny guy. He's a funny character. He definitely has a true love of food. He was a sous chef in New York City restaurants for many years. And so he really knows his way around a kitchen, and he knows quality ingredients. And so I really found the book to be a lot of fun, and especially the chapter dedicated to natural wines, which are still very much in vogue. Um, but I think it's interesting. This was published in 2017. During the pandemic, Action Bronson went through a full metamorphosis and really dedicated himself to um, a new fitness and health routine, and has lost over 100 pounds. So it'll be interesting to see as his show continues. I think it's now on YouTube. What his transformation and his new dedication to health, how that will come out in his program. All right. And then lastly, the book E.A.R.L, the autobiography of DMX, as told to Smokey D. Fontaine. Of all the books, this was the most difficult to read. It was quite sad to learn of DMX's childhood. He was born in the Vernon area of New York, Yonkers, and his father abandoned him when he was very young, and his mother was really ill-equipped to raise him. And, by the age of 9, the anger that he carried from his abandonment and poor treatment from his family, he would really take it out at school on his classmates and teachers. He became quite violent at a young age. His mom dropped him off at a group home for boys, and that was really when his first incarceration began. I found the book really difficult to read, and I just kept thinking of who would he have become had he have been born into a family that nurtured him and loved him and gave him all the sort of enrichment, because he went really far and he did really well for himself, but he carried that pain with him throughout his life. And there were times when DMX would actually returned to jail just to because he felt so comfortable there, just because that was a place where he didn't have to deal with the noise of the outside world and all the demands of the pressure of being DMX. He was what I would consider an anointed person. He um, spoke with such a beautiful gift, to his people. And so I really appreciate being a fan of his music. The story was published in 2001, but at the time of his death, this year, it's now again being republished and circulating widely. And I just wish that, he didn't die at 50 when he had so many more years to offer, not only as a father, but as a musician. Um, we know that he was so prolific as part of the Rough Riders and also as the super group Murder Inc. with Jay-Z and Ja Rule. So his music lives on. I know he just also had an album that just came out that was produced by Swiss Beats. So support his estate. You can purchase his music, read his book. If you're a hip hop fan, I hope that there's something that I reviewed today that'll catch your interest, and check it out at your local library. Thanks for watching.